broken right now. Well, my leg is.
Yeah. You made it through.
I did.
You're a stronger person for that.
I don't know if I'm
Good job,
stronger
man.
for it. I don't have high pain tolerance, probably. I probably don't. I don't know.
Welcome, everybody, to a very special episode of Stay Paid. This is going to be a little bit different. So, first of all,
That was a great drum
announcement.
roll, by the way.
This is episode 99.
Whew.
This is the last episode that we will be recording on, oh, it's not a yellow wall, on the gray wall. I don't know if the new one's gray or not. Anyway, it's the last episode in this
We're
studio.
going to be in a new studio. We are moving out
Ariel
of the
and
closet.
Jesse are looking at each other like
After
I'm insane.
2 years, we moved from one closet to a bigger closet.
Which from a
And you
one
guys,
to a
no
slightly
joke, this
larger
is
closet.
literally a storage closet.
Yep.
In here, this is entrepreneurship.
We've
Well,
never
it's a
turned the
sample
camera around.
closet.
We got to take a picture for this blog
Yeah,
post. You have to
we
go to
got to.
staypaidpodcast.com.
I'll take it from this angle.
Yes.
Yeah, and see what we look at. It's racks of magazines and a green wall that we actually used to use as the green screen for our old video studio.
Yes.
Is what this actually was.
Mems.
This was our old video
That
studio.
was the green screen.
I painted that wall
was.
chroma key green. It's like a paint that you can buy.
You guys
for
have
keying
got
out.
to check this picture out.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the podcast.
And the wall used to be yellow, and then one day we were tired of looking at the yellow wall, so Jesse came in
And she painted it on a weekend.
and just painted the wall
or
gray.
maybe on a weeknight.
She's like, I'm tired of hearing them complain about this yellow wall, so I'm just going to paint it. But hey, we are doing so. It's going to be a little bit confusing because we're going to bounce back and forth. This is why you have to go over to our YouTube channel and check out the videos.
Yes.
Because we're going to be bouncing back and forth between this studio, and then we're going to have our 100th episode, which will be cool.
The Hundy one.
We're going to get the CEO and founder on the podcast to talk about the history of ReminderMedia. Luke's looking at me like
He's
I sure hope he shows
I
up.
hope he shows up. Very introverted guy. He might just clam up and not share anything.
But we're
Pull
going to
it
do
out
that
of
one in
him.
the new studio. Then we're going to have a couple interviews where you'll see us in the old studio. So we're going to bounce back and forth a little bit here until we get a more permanent location. But that will be happening on the next episode. So tune in. This one we're going to do a Q&A. So this is going to be a question and answer. We have Andrea Tremper
Hello.
here on the podcast. She has been collecting, because she works on our social media, is collecting questions from our listeners. So we've decided to do a little bit of a Q&A here on this episode. Before we kind of jump into that, we're also just an update. I don't know if everyone knows about your knee surgery.
Yeah,
I
my
don't think
knee
we've actually talked
surgery.
about it because we've been off for a few weeks.
Yeah, no, I tore my ACL 2 years ago. The second time I tore my ACL. I tore it playing basketball, I guess my senior year of high school, not actually on a team. Because that's the first thought that Luke, you played high school basketball? Nope. Didn't. I was homeschooled. It was backyard basketball, and tore my ACL just playing basketball in the backyard with
That's
some
where
friends.
the greatest. You had
Yes.
a lot of brothers, so I don't know.
I
if you
did. I have a family of 6 brothers.
We used to do like 3-on-0.
6 were
So me
boys.
and my brother and our next door neighbor, whenever we'd get off school, we would do 3-on-0. So we'd like make up all these scenarios where we're like, you know what I mean? Like we were the Magic playing the Lakers or something in the championship game. I was always Penny Hardaway.
Yes. Well, I used to have and maybe it plays into why I'm a salesman today, but I mean, I used to have the worst competitive streak. Like I could not lose. Like I would just get so upset if I lost. You can talk to Dan about it. And I used to get so mad at Dan because he had longer fingernails, like my brother. I was just like, cut your fingernails. You're like, every time we
he's
play
scratching
basketball,
it or
you
whatever.
scratch it. So it's like, not that anybody needs to know that, but it's just a random fact.
Dan, cut your fingernails.
Cut your fingernails.
does.
But
He
tore
still
my
does.
ACL back in
still does.
yeah,
You can confirm that.
see, there you go. But meaning like tore my ACL back then. Then 2 years ago, playing in a basketball league for the company, tore my ACL again. Same exact. going
Sensing
to
a theme,
basketball.
man. Let's
Yeah.
stop playing basketball.
Yeah,
Let's
seriously.
just-
let's
switch to
my
golf.
career in the NBA is over
Yeah.
for good. And now there's nothing more annoying than a mobile person having to be immobile. Like
Yes.
I am just all over the place, high
you
energy,
are.
that type of, and it's just, you can see it. You can see it on my face. You can see it when I'm, walking along. I called myself hop along.
He's so irritated.
It was just so frustrating. And it's just like, people are like, I can hear you coming from a mile away. And I was just like, if somebody else tells me that, I say, I can't take it. The crutches are clinking. It's just like,
Everyone in this room
yeah,
has said that to you.
everybody has said that to me. I can hear you coming from a mile. So it's like, I'm trying to sneak up on you. So anyway, so now I got my stitches out
hey,
today.
man.
And I was telling people today, because everybody's going to want to hear this on the podcast. Have you ever had stitches pulled out?
Yeah.
And it's like a string, right? And I've never had this sensation before. When they pull, like, I don't know if it's technically a piece of string, but whatever it is, when they pull that through your skin, it's a weird sensation.
Yeah.
It's like,
good morning, everybody.
yes,
Welcome to your Stay Paid community.
That woke you up right there. All right, let's get going. So that's not what this podcast is about, but crazy.
All right.
So it's been a journey, but now I'm putting some pressure on it. I'm starting rehab this week. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. If you tune into the next episode too, if you still have your brace on, you'll probably get to see it.
Yeah,
Because our new setup,
you'll
you'll be able to
see
see
my
our
brace.
legs, I think.
Uh-oh.
So
No shorts.
getting racy
No
in here.
shorts next time.
Watch out,
Oh
everybody.
my gosh.
all right, Andrea. So why don't you kick us off? And these are listener questions. So you're going to give some shout outs to
Yes.
some listeners and then throw some curveballs. It's
hard to believe it's been 99
So I'm going to
episodes.
turn over the reins. I am officially letting go of the moderator position here
Let
on
go,
Stay
man.
Paid. I'm turning it over to Andrea.
All right. So first of all, thank you. Huge shout out to all of our followers and our listeners
Yes.
for submitting all of these. I will be giving some shout outs, but follow us on Stay Paid Podcast on Instagram. Also follow Luke and Josh, ReminderMedia. We have a ton of shout outs today. So let's kick this thing off, huh? We got some fun ones. We got some
a little
industry related
nervous.
ones. You should be, to be quite
Give
honest.
Josh the hard
This is
questions.
testing
I
my
have a
knowledge.
whole
Easy ones.
spreadsheet. You can't cheat
Not looking.
and look at all these questions.
Okay, I won't cheat.
All right, I'm trusting.
Covering my eye
I'm
over here.
trusting. All right, so
Also, check out this Stay Paid clipboard.
yes, I don't know.
Got to go to
Y'all can see
youtube.com/ReminderMedia, see it, or
That's official,
staypaidpodcast.com.
man.
that is official.
We got hats, we got shirts, now we got clipboards.
I should have worn my hat. Dang. Rookie mistake. Next time. All right, so let's kick this off. First question is from Andy on our Instagram. What are the best and most effective ways to get business in a new market?
Best and most effective ways to get business in a new market.
All right,
Did you wanna go
so
first?
I guess the question is, if you're new to the market, you probably don't have a sphere. I'm just going to assume that for this answer, right?
I would.
I'm just going to assume you're new to the market. So a couple things I would do right away is you're going to develop a social routine. So I would start getting those people, the people that you meet, into your sphere. So who would those people be? Those people be the people in your neighborhood. If you go to church, it'd be the people that you go to church with. I would start building a database right away. I think one of the most common mistakes people make, even when they go to a new market, is they don't realize that even though you don't have a sphere, it doesn't mean you shouldn't build one from day one. So I think the reason why I tell you that is because what you'll find in real estate and really any business is that the value of your business really comes from your database.
Yep.
And so if you start from day one when you're in a new market, building that database, there's a direct correlation from the income you make. If you're a real estate agent, the volume you sell and how big your database is. Then when I look at kind of the most effective ways today to market to your sphere, I think, or sorry, not your sphere, but to a new community, I think one of the most cost-effective ways to do it is to do Facebook ads from an actual paid standpoint. I think that's going to be the most cost-effective. And Josh, you can probably talk and riff a little bit on that. I would encourage you though, if you're, because it's hard because we have a lot of different listeners, but if you're a real estate agent, super, super easy to pick up the phone and start calling FSBOs, expireds in that new community. That's how you can build even a little bit of a database and call them and sell. Like my brother said on the podcast that he did, you call those FSBOs and stuff, you call those FSBOs until that FSBO either sells or they list with another agent or they list with you.
Never gives up.
Right? So that's an easy, cost-effective
look
way.
at our podcast with James Festini. He started over in like 3 different markets. And what did he do? He started cold calling and he started knocking on doors.
Correct.
He would knock on 200 to 300 doors a day.
Mm-hmm.
A day. He would knock on 4,000 doors a year. That's how he would go into, and he get 30 transactions just from door knocking. So that's what he would do when he will go into a new market.
Yeah, that's freaking insane. But your goal as a new market is like you're trying to get your brand out there at the same time you build a list.
Yeah.
Like the key is building that list. I can't say that enough. If you're in a new market, you have to build a database of people that you then can consistently market to. So you can run ads on Facebook. And that's really cost effective. I mean, my brother started running ads and he started off, I think, at like $5 a day. Yeah, he started $5 a day and he started getting a lot of good feedback especially because he would boost listings. Even if he didn't have a listing, he'd go get permission from the agent that had the listing, and he would boost that listing. And people obviously are looking for listings, buyers are. And so you do that. Another real cost-effective way, if you're new to the market and you're in real estate, I almost slipped out of my chair right there.
We got new, I don't like these chairs.
Yeah,
We've had
like
these new
either.
chairs for a couple of
Another way to do it is open houses. So, you know, if you
I like Ariel's chair. That's somehow producer Ariel.
Josh is still hung up on these chairs.
You're the first one in the studio.
you get the nice
I
chair.
think this was Steven's last week.
It probably was. We have the nice chairs for our guests.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Open houses, go get a top producer's open house and do the open house for them. So those, from a real estate perspective, obvious no-brainer way to build yourself in a new community. Start with FSBOs and expireds. Start doing open houses for top producers who don't want to do their open houses anymore. Start building a database. Build that. That's really the most important. Start building that database.
So the only other thing I would add to that, because that's a great tactical method, would be to kind of take it even back to the basics a little bit more and work on your elevator pitch. Make sure that you have a solid 6 to 8 second elevator pitch. This is your value proposition, right? That we have a podcast on kind of creating your unique value proposition. But the reason why you want to fine tune that, and if you're in real estate, your elevator pitch isn't I'm in real estate, right? If you're in financial services, your elevator
it would just
pitch,
be a bad one.
Well, so think about it. You're going to start going to, if you have kids, you're going to start going to sports games. You're going to start meeting new people. You're going to start a new daily routine, like you said. So that conversation is always, hey, how are you doing? My name's Josh. My name's Luke. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm in construction. Oh, what do you do? I'm in real estate. And like, you don't want to just say I'm in real estate or I'm in financial services. If you're, make it as specific and specialized as possible. So if you're in financial services and you help people with their retirement, I think there's 500 different ways to file for Social Security or something like that.
We have a webinar or whatever coming up on that.
Yeah, man, here's your pitch. There's 500 different ways to file for Social Security. I help the 10,000 baby boomers that are turning 65 every day with how to file for how to
take out the confusion
right,
of what happens.
Right there. Now, the person you're talking to probably might be turning 65, but they might not be turning 65.
They might have a parent.
Their dad might be turning 65.
Yeah.
My dad's turned 65 in a year. I'm pretty sure he doesn't know how to file for Social. I'm just guessing that he doesn't know how to file for Social Security.
Point.
So that's sort of think about it from that mindset. You're going to be meeting a lot of new people. You're going to be starting a lot of new daily routines, like you mentioned. Make sure that you have that thing fine-tuned to 6 to 8 seconds where your value proposition is front and center.
Yes.
Everything else is marketing.
Yep.
And
Everything
sales,
else
right?
is you
getting out there.
Yeah, just try it, track it,
leads. Yeah.
see if it works. If it doesn't work, pivot.
Awesome. Well, kind of riffing off of that, you talked about door knocking in James Festini's episode. So we have another question from Jacob asking, what's the best way to track ROI from door knocking?
Track it.
Yeah, it's like,
it's a great.
What's the best system you use? Or the one you use? What's the best system?
It's a great question, but it's the same way that you would track any other marketing effort, right? Or sales effort from the phone call standpoint. Like, I look at it from, I'm in digital marketing. I spend a lot of my time in Facebook ads, a lot of time in email marketing. And so everything from our standpoint, and when we're looking at something like Facebook ads, we're looking at reach. Right, that's where it starts. How many people can I reach with the dollars that I'm spending? And so it's the same thing with door knocking. How many people can I reach with the time that I have to spend on it? So once you know how many people you can reach, I think when we had James on, he said for every 100 doors he knocks on, 25 people will answer. All right, so that 25, that's your reach now.
Correct.
Right, so your 100 is your time spent. That's your budget. The 25 are the people reached, and then start working through the process. So if you're reaching, I'm going to just kind of continue to use kind of Facebook as an example. But if I can reach 1,000 people for $100, right? If 10% of those people then click through my ad, that's my next conversion rate. Correct. That's my next conversion percentage. So now I've got 100 people clicking through my ad. If I can get 10% of those filling out a form on my website, that's now a lead generated. Right? So that's 10 people that I could get to generate a lead. If I can convert 10% of that, that's one transaction. So if it costs me $100 to reach 1,000 people and that one person is, let's just say, worth they pay me $500, right? That's a 500% ROI.
It's incredible.
Right? So $500 for the $100 spent. Yeah. Same thing with door knocking. Figure out how many doors you can knock on in a day.
Correct.
What's your conversion rate? So your reach now is the people that you've that open the door, right? Then your leads generated are the ones that are willing to give you their phone number,
the ones that are maybe
or their email address,
or yeses,
right? Some piece of contact information that you can follow back up with. Then and if you're in real estate, it's Well, how many people then can I get to a listing presentation?
Yep.
How many people can I get to listings taken? And then how many listings, what's my conversion rate on listings sold? And we have a lead tracker that we'll include in the show notes because that's all that you have to do. And then you can approach it one of two ways. You can either look at it from the standpoint of how many sales do I want to generate from door knocking, and you can work backwards. And our lead tracker will actually, all you have to do is put the number of sales in. Right. And it's actually going to tell you then how many doors to knock on if you have the conversion rates.
Correct.
And if you don't have the conversion rates yet, either get out there and start tracking them or go back and look at the blog post that we have for James Festini, because use his conversion rates. He said that I can't remember what he said. If he knocks on, I can't remember how many doors he said he would knock on, but he can say that there would be one person in there that will go to contract in 7 days.
That's really knowing your numbers.
Right.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Yes.
And so that can, and I know it sounds.
What episode was that? We'll put that in the show notes. I
Yeah.
can't remember the episode off the top of my head.
It's in the 90s.
Yeah.
90-ish.
But
But yeah, we'll
I
definitely put that
can't
in there.
fact check. I'm over
you
here
can't
this
fact
time,
check
guys.
it anymore.
But so that's just kind of, I know that that is what you would do with every single marketing or sales channel that you have, whether it's email, it's postcards, it's Facebook ads, it's door knocking, it's cold calling, it's FSBOs and expireds. It's the same principle. Know your conversion rates. Know what you want to hit at the end of the year, or start at the other side, right? Know that you can hit on, knock on 100 doors a day for a week.
Correct.
Right? Figure out, or once a week, whatever that is. That's going to be 5,200 doors a year if you do it.
And it points you to
100
where
a
you
week.
have to refine. There's only so much time in a day. So when you track your numbers like that, it's like, hey, you might need to knock on 500 doors in order to get a deal. That probably is not feasible for you to do in a 1 day, 2 day.
It might
type
not be
time.
feasible.
So then you have to go to yourself, well, what can I improve? Well, you can improve how you approach that door through your scripts or through your body language or whatever it is. You can improve after you get that lead, what you're doing to drip on that lead to turn that into appointment. Like, it points you, when you track your stuff, like Josh is talking about, it points you to the next logical area that you can focus to improve. And then you make the logical choice of going, is it worth it to spend time improving this little area for this gain, or should I focus on a totally different lead generation strategy?
Yeah.
And that's how great business owners run their business.
James Festini is episode 85, we confirmed.
Boom.
So we'll put that in the show notes, but
How'd you find that out? Did you? Oh,
Jesse helped
You
me
called
out.
on Jesse the fact checker.
you went like 8-5.
She just mouthed it to me, and I
Oh.
could read her lips. We're very connected like that.
Technology, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so moving on. This is going to be good. I can already tell. This one I'm pretty excited about. So it's cool as somebody who's involved in our social media to see all of the different people we have in our audience. So we preach a lot to real estate agents, financial advisors, service-based sales professionals. We actually had a question from a hairstylist on our
Nice.
Instagram. And this is from Silvana. And she asked, how can I deal with the fact that people waste our time to screenshot your work and then buy elsewhere?
Deal with people that screenshot. So I'm assuming she's saying that she's posting pictures of
Haircuts
hair
or
that
hairstyles
she's done.
Exactly.
And people are screenshotting and taking to another hairdresser
saying,
and saying,
"I
I
want
want
this."
this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think you can't not post your work. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
you can't.
I think that's a lot of it is a mindset type
Sure.
answer. It's a
This is the abundance.
Yeah, you have to embrace an abundance mentality. It's like Ricky Carruth we had on the episode, right? If we're referencing episodes, and he talked about people are so scared of a recession in the real estate market. And he's like, I don't fear a recession at all. There's plenty of houses out there. And I find that successful people, they have that attitude. And within that attitude, it basically, we went live the other day on Facebook and we talked about how your attitude affects your action. It's like proven, like how you feel and what you tell yourself affects your body language. It affects what you start to do. And so it might not be the answer people want to hear, but if you're posting a hairstyle and someone's stealing that, you should have an attitude of just like, oh man, it's awesome. It's great for us. You should share that they actually use that hairstyle. Hey,
That's
look,
what I was gonna say.
Like you take advantage of
I
the
know.
fact that people are using it, and it makes everybody almost like feel better, and that reciprocity or whatever you want to call it will start kicking in.
Yeah, it's very similar in terms of like you have to post your work, right? You, in today's day and age, you have to be on social media. You have to put that out there. Number one, if you shift your mindset thinking of it a way of adding value, right? I'm putting this out there to grow my brand to add value. But then kind of the other way would be like turn it to your advantage. If you know people are screenshotting your hairstyles and going to someone else and getting them done, number one, they might not be in your area. So I don't know
Sure.
if that's,
Yep.
you have to determine if it's happening in your area, and that's a little bit different. But say, like, encourage people, hey, if you use this as inspiration,
Share it.
make sure to hashtag,
Yes.
use this hashtag
Correct.
or mention me, or take it one step further and say, or if you come to my salon and have me do it, I'll throw in a free product or something like that. Like,
Correct.
add something of value, because number one, you're going to get your brand out there, and people are going to start hopefully sharing. Like, you're telling them what to do, so they might
Yep.
share your Instagram handle, right? And then the other thing is encourage people to, like, give them a reason to come to you beyond that hairstyle, because chances are they probably have a hairstylist that they go to that they're comfortable with. What can you do to then convert them and bring them
To you,
over
what? Yeah, what value
It might
do you
be
offer
one
above
free
that?
session. Think
Correct.
of it as a loss leader. People hate hearing that. People hate hearing our real estate
Like, I don't
clients
understand
hate
hair, but it might be just a free, like, tell us, Andrew, like
Bottle
a free
of-
color, a free, like,
Definitely
portion,
not a color,
free
'cause
clip,
it's very
hair
expensive
free.
right
Okay,
now.
yeah. I don't know. I don't
Also
understand.
very expensive.
Yeah.
A trim.
Yeah, a free trim or something. I love it.
Product?
There's no I would say there's no shortage of heads of hair out there. Like, there's no shortage.
Now, this
people.
is-
Sorry, Josh. This is personal.
This is actually kind of awkward.
This is awkward. There's no shortage of heads of hair, though. I'm just saying, meaning, like, it just, like,
Last time I went to a
have
hairdresser was the
tendency-
9th grade.
Oh my gosh, this is really deep and personal right now. I have a
what
tendency
you
to
did,
obsess
Luke.
over the competition, and you can waste so much mind energy, so much emotional energy obsessing over the competition. Take that, let it fuel you, go get the next.
It
head
is
of
a
hair.
great question, though.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, it's
frustrating.
a great question. We've had it happen to us.
How can you turn that to your
People have
advantage?
ripped off soft
Oh, yeah.
multiple times. We won't mention it on here because we don't want to obsess over it. I want to use the energy for the next question, but I mean,
Also, very cool that we have hairdressers listening
I
to the
know.
podcast.
It's awesome. I was very excited by
yes,
that one.
yes, thank you, and please critique us on our style.
Please do. Maybe
Josh
we'll do a
is
whole
like, "Please
segment
don't."
on it.
But that would be awesome.
There's nothing good to critique.
No,
still
you
have
can still
facial hair.
style it.
Oh, yeah. Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Come on.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
This just got really sad.
Well, we're going to turn it around. Luke, this one is specifically for you.
Uh-oh.
It's actually from Maggie, who is on our content team here.
Oh, wow.
Maggie wants to know if you have ever done or said something on camera that you really wish you hadn't or could take back.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know if
Probably.
she's thinking of anything specific. I think she's just
This is coming
wondering.
from the guy
but-
who last podcast says, "What is it? I don't think before I
don't
speak."
think before I speak. There's many, many
quote.
things I'm sure I've said
An
that in the
autobiography.
moment I wish I could have taken back. I can't think of really anything specifically right now. Ariel's smiling at me because she goes, "Oh yes, I can think of something for you," because she does the video editing.
proof.
But no, I don't. Maybe this speaks to the mindset. I don't really think about it. I just go, like, one time I think I used the baby drowning reference. I was like, I probably shouldn't have used that reference on the podcast. I don't know what episode that was,
remember
but we
that.
can tag it in the show notes. Like, I talked about, like, people. The problem with people is that, or when you get into a bind, you become resourceful, and that's what separates great people from non-great people. Is you're going to become resourceful, and so you got to put yourself in situations like entrepreneurs. They burn the bridge behind them, because if the bridge is burned and you can't go back, if the Cortez mentality, if you've burnt the ships and you can't go home, you have to become resourceful. And I was using some analogy like, look, if your baby's drowning, you're going to become resourceful. You're going to do everything you can do. So you see, I used it again, and I regret it right now on this podcast. I regret
Maggie,
it.
there you go.
Maggie,
I
well
think that's
done.
the only thing I can
well
think
played.
of. Other than that, I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to say way more things that are more offensive in the future. So
Hey, I mean,
Jesse's like, oh,
engagement's engagement,
Yeah,
all
it
right?
is.
I think
It
that
is.
that's a great lesson that anyone can kind of take away from that is like when you started this journey of getting on camera and going live and
I thought about everything.
We
Probably.
overthought everything, and now it's at the point where, dude, you get on camera, you say what's on your mind,
And that's
and you
it.
move on.
And then
you,
it's just
if
what
you
it
sit
is.
there and dwell on it, you'll never get anything
And if
done.
you offend one person, which I'm sure I have, like someone hashtagged on my latest video on Instagram, cringe. I laugh. I actually go, dude, I'm making it.
Haters,
It's
friggin'
like,
haters.
I'm making it. Like, I mean, yeah, it doesn't. Who cares?
Honestly, we love to see that.
I love to
It's-
see it. Yeah, you got. I mean, if half the world hates you, half the world loves you. Both days you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Grant Cardone. I did not make that up. Grant Cardone made that up. So credit to Grant.
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because we do have another question that kind of relates to what you guys just both said. How did you get comfortable being on camera all the time? And that's from Tyler.
I don't know I'll ever be comfortable on camera, but
It's hard.
You literally just have to do it.
Yeah,
you
it's
just
all
do
it
it
is.
over and over. I remember the first time I got on Stay Paid. It was like episode 5 or something like that. We were talking about landing pages or emails or something. And dude, I was so nervous. I had a list of like every single stat and everything that I could possibly think of pulled up in front of me so that I
feel like I
didn't
remember
sound
that.
stupid or I didn't forget something. And I just remember being so nervous, and that continued for a long time. Even when we kind of, it just became the two of us,
Yep.
and we were doing it that way, I would get nervous. Then we would do like these videos, above the noise videos, where you'd have to stand in front of this.
That's difficult when you have to look at the camera
Dude,
and everybody's watching and
It's
you're
a
looking
black,
straight at the camera. You
soulless
can't
circle.
think. It's like really hard.
Your whole thoughts just
Dramatic.
dump out of your mind.
And you're like, it's seeing everything that I'm making a mistake right now.
Yeah, it's judging me.
It's judging the camera.
No, but you just show up.
You
just
gotta
keep doing
do it. We all put on a persona. The hardest part is being vulnerable. And I don't have any advice for you how to be vulnerable because it's still a struggle for me. You just have to be vulnerable. People connect with vulnerability.
It's relatable.
Like it's super relatable. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because if you're fearful of being on camera, it's in a way okay to show that. In a way. Like it's not the problem for most people is they're fearful, so they try to get really stringent, stringent, and they like tighten up and everything like that, or rigid. Yeah, that's a better word for it. But they tighten up, and you can tell, and that's what makes you uncomfortable. Not the fact that they were uncomfortable on video, but that they're so rigid. You're just like, oh, this is embarrassing.
That's #cringy.
Yeah, that's cringy.
Dude, if you have a neurosis or whatever, or you're like, you have like something that you like you said, a vulnerability. A lot of other people out there have it too.
Yes, play to that.
They're
It's
going
a
to relate to you.
strength.
Nobody's
It's
sitting
camaraderie.
there like speakers. You watch a speaker, nobody's sitting there wanting the speaker to fail. Just keep that in your mind. Everyone wants you to succeed. Everyone
Unless
wants
you're
you
a
to do that.
presidential candidate,
That's true.
both sides of the
That's
aisle,
a whole
people want you to fail.
different group.
And moving on. So we have a next question from Amy. Luke, you actually passed this one on to me. So how do you get a list of absentee owners to call?
Yes. So this was, I forget what episode this was from, but we talk about one of the lead generation categories within real estate is calling absentee owners. And one of the reasons you want to do that is these people own homes that no one lives in or they don't live in. And so it's a great chance to find flips to do. It's a great chance to find investment properties. We have gotten our data from Pioneer Data Solutions. So they offer real estate leads and they offer a bunch of different leads, but one of the lead sources they offer is absentee owners, and they give you obviously the name, the address, and the phone number. If they have it, you can pay for the phone number. And I think you can pay for the email if I'm not mistaken as well. And we'll buy a list of 1,000 to 15,000, depending on the zones, the areas, and we'll call through them and see if we can. Now we're saying, hey, are you interested in selling your home, or would you be interested to hear an offer on your home? And people are responding really well. We've gotten at least 4 this year. Flip properties from calling absentee owners.
It's been a big investment.
It's not super expensive. I can't remember the cost off the top of my head, but Pioneer Data Solutions, they're not the only solution out there. The other way you can get absentee owners is obviously you're driving around, you see a home that's kind of run down. It's obvious no one lives there. You can look up on the tax records. You can look up tax records and you usually can find who the owner is.
Address?
It's searched by the address. So there's also like I forget if it's county or whatever, they have the government sites. It's public record, tax record, that type of stuff is public record. And so you can find who that person is. Then from there, you can use whatever's out there, white pages or whatever, to try to find a phone number for them and call them. And we've done that before multiple times.
Cool.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. So Josh, this one is specifically for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Are you ready?
No, I'm nervous.
I'm
okay. I'm okay to admit that now.
Give them a really hard one, a curveball. Throw a curveball
I'm
at
going to
them.
save those for a little bit later. What you wish
you're
for,
gonna
man.
You're going to throw the curveballs? This is
All right.
terrifying.
Josh, how
Yes.
do you motivate your team if the campaigns that you're running aren't producing like you expected?
They always produce like I expect.
But what if they don't in some crazy,
they don't.
outlandish world?
If campaigns that we're running don't perform as expected, how do you keep the team motivated?
Yes.
Start with motivated people. First of all, that's like the main thing. So we have a lot.
That's
of
actually super, super valid.
yeah, dude.
Like they say this in sound engineering that you can't tweak if it's recorded badly, if the sound coming through is recorded badly, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
That's super valid.
No, I mean it's
That's
real.
a golden nugget, ladies.
It's
and
very,
gentlemen.
very difficult. Whoa,
That's Josh's second golden nugget in 100 episodes, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it is extremely hard to turn someone unmotivated motivated. Start with motivated people and then just don't demotivate them, right? Give them the process, the tools, the information they need to stay motivated. I would say one of the biggest things would be make sure that your team is involved and has the information to help make the decisions, right? So if you have a team that's working on a huge marketing campaign and it falls short and you turn around and say, well, that one didn't work, what's next? That's not going to help. That's going to demotivate people, right? Give them the information. Make sure that they have, we just talked about conversion rates. Make sure that they can see and understand, and that as a team, we're now assessing and analyzing what happened in a campaign. So like an example would be if we run a campaign that let's say we're running 2 different email campaigns, and one of our email campaigns gets a 5% click through, and the other email campaign gets a 30% click through, right? But they end up with the same amount of leads. So we would probably be running a campaign to generate leads. So being able to look at that and say, well, wait a minute, if I got the same amount of leads from both, then the problem with the one that got 30% click through, the email worked fantastic because people were engaged and compelled to click through it, but the landing page wasn't working. So then how do we just fine tune the landing page? How do we refine that to make it work better? And then the opposite, the landing page on this one is obviously working really well. So how do we get a more compelling email to get people to click through it? We are natural problem solvers. We as humans, whether it's evolutionary or whatever, we have it in our systems to solve problems. Make people part of the process, give them the information that they need, and then rely on them to, if they want to try something, let's try something. We talk about it all the time. Let's act. Don't spend 4 weeks on a campaign if you can spend 2 days on it and get it out.
Right.
Track it, make sure people have the tools and the resources to understand the data, and then pivot if you need to try something else.
Right. Awesome.
That was a lot better answer than I was just going to say. You suck. Do better next time.
Dude, no, look, having...
Some people need that.
I love to see, this sounds crazy. I love to see campaigns fail if we can fail fast and then get off them right away.
Yeah, because you just learn so fast.
Right, I know not to do that next time.
Correct.
And the whole team now knows not to do that next
Correct.
time. Now the whole thing is, how long do you let it play out? Facebook, if you're running a Facebook ad, you've got to give it at least 4 days for Facebook to optimize. If you're seeing 0 results, get out and do something else. If you're seeing your results getting better but not quite where they want to be, let it run for a week, let it run for 2 weeks. Give it the time until you know. Yeah, it's got to stop.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me that.
Oh,
Who
it's
asked
not
that?
a problem. Amy asked
thank
that.
you, Amy.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
I don't know if I mentioned that. I apologize, Amy. Thank you. Okay, so this next one is for both of you, but you are allowed to have separate answers if you'd like. So it's kind of putting you guys on the spot a little bit. This is from Tamira, who is on our marketing team.
Woo!
What is your most memorable client experience or moment? Can be good or can be bad.
It's been 16
I
years
know.
worth of clients.
We've had a lot of them. We've had a lot of
I'll open it up to prospects as well.
I don't know why this isn't the most, I don't know if this is the most memorable or not. It's just the first one that popped into my head. We've had so many. This isn't the best example. I'm going to think of another one right after we finish this podcast. And I don't remember her name. This is horrible. But I just remember, like, in the early days, we would, everyone at the company did everything, right? So everyone wore many hats. All of our customers had my personal cell phone number. So I remember, like, laying on the couch one night watching, I don't know, probably Jeopardy or something like that on DVR because I'm a nerd. But it's like 11 o'clock at night and a client calls me freaking out over her back inside cover ad because we were about to go. We were actually at press, right? We were on press. And so I just remember I was in the locations. I was about 45 minutes from our printer at the time. And so I remember like being on the phone with her, driving to the printer to pull her magazines out of, off the press so that we could get the, and then
That is customer service,
going in,
ladies and
doing the
gentlemen.
new ad, getting that uploaded into the file, and then rerunning
Yeah.
the whole print file. Like for some reason, that's the first thing when you said that popped into my mind. There's been so many good.
We have
positive
so many
experiences.
great,
I just remember
great
that one for some
testimonials. It's funny. If you guys want to hear a funny one, like a negative one.
Yeah.
Hey, she said most
Is
memorable.
this going to be the thing that you regret saying?
Yeah, probably is the thing I regret saying. So we tend to be proactive in our outreach. And we were calling, I won't name who, but we were calling this real estate agent, and one of my callers, Tom, good old Tom, he's no longer with us now, but not because of this incident, but he's great employee. But he calls the guy, and they're having a conversation and everything like that, and it basically ends up with a guy basically hung up on him. And, you could have maybe assumed, well, we got disconnected. So Tom calls him back, and Tom, basically, the guy answers the phone, and Tom's like, and the guy's name is Bob, but he's like, hey, Bob. And all you hear is, just breathing, heavy breathing. You can hear this. And he's like, Bob, I'm just trying to help you, Bob. I'm just trying to help you. And then all of a sudden, Bob just unloads. I'm gonna call the federal government on you. This is unreal. And just unloads. It was just like, oh my gosh. So that was a funny experience that we've had.
I mean, that seems like it would be memorable.
Yes, I've had some
I think
some
you might have
memorable
told that
experience.
story a couple times on the podcast.
I maybe
too,
have, but
people
it's
have
just
enjoyed
like
it.
that one sticks with me forever. There has been so many. I think of Leonard Schiffman we actually had on the podcast. Leonard's been a huge client or a huge fan and a client of ours for many, many years. And one of the greatest things is he sent me a picture of his mother, and his mother receives his magazine.
Yeah.
And his mother has
like
kept every copy of the magazine,
that.
and it was amazing. It was just such a great picture of, basically his mother loves the magazine so much she kept every copy of it. And then, I think we just received a recent picture. I think it was from a financial advisor client, but the baby. Do you remember this picture where there's the baby holding the magazine, and it's just like that's so cool. The impact portion of it is so neat because the testimonials we get all the time is people feel like they're famous because they're on a magazine. And so they get text messages from their clients. They get phone calls. Oh my gosh, you're on a magazine. Like I've shared that Waddell and Reed customer. One of his clients framed it and brought it in, which I've heard that type of testimonial multiple times. But those are the things that stand out to me.
We post those all the time on our Reminder Media, Instagram, Facebook, all of our social pages, because that's one of our favorite things. It's so cool to see those pictures being shared. So if anybody has them, tag us and we'll share it. It's awesome to see you guys
Also,
on the
when
magazine.
I'll mention when I received the testimonial from my brother Steven when he used it for FSBO.
Oh, yeah.
And the lady literally, he called the FSBO, they didn't answer. He drove to their house. He dropped off the magazine with a little sticky note, I think it was.
Yeah.
And she called him that night and said, I got your magazine. Just want to thank you for it. I love it. I'm going to talk to my husband tonight about listing with you. I mean, that is a true story. It was
crazy.
crazy.
We had the
It was
same-
like,
we had
when
a-
he told me that, I was like, you're just making this up.
We had
You
a
just
very similar.
like,
we had an agent that had gotten their first $1 million listing because they did the same thing. They took an expired listing and put the magazine in the mailbox with a sticky note on it that said,
your house can be here or something like that. It's on our Facebook page. You can read it. She wrote a really long story about it, and she was struggling to break in. Yeah,
to get that first $1 million listing. So
she was struggling. So those, we have so many of those. It's awesome.
I love those stories. They're our favorite. Every time we get a testimonial on our Facebook page, our whole team sees it and freaks out. We just love it. It never gets
Thank
old.
you. Yeah.
Okay, so this next one's kind of fun. It's from Matt, who's on our marketing team. So he's actually going to quiz you guys. I don't know if that surprises you at all, but yeah.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Don't cheat.
What's the category? Do we know the category, or is it
It's just a question.
okay?
What two words combine to make the word podcast?
iPod and on demand something on demand.
That's
broadcast.
about 4 words, but
iPod and broadcast. It's a broadcast on your iPod.
Luke, do you concur or do you have a different answer?
I'm confused, but I concur.
You're correct.
Thank you.
It's
Dude,
iPod and broadcast.
That's why I've made it in life. I stick and concur with Josh. Boom.
I've heard though that pod stands for
iPod and broadcast. That's awesome.
I can't remember if
Never
it's
heard that
portable
before.
on demand or what.
Portable on demand makes sense.
I did not.
But I
look
think
that
someone
part up.
made that up after.
I thought it was
podcast
like
started.
piece of.
So podcast started in like 2004,
Correct.
right? So Dave Weiner, I don't know if it's Weiner or Weiner, how you pronounce his name, but he invented the RSS feed, which stands for really simple syndication, right? So then he invented a way to put an audio file inside of an RSS feed, and you had
he
like all
called
of
it-
these things called podcatchers. And then Adam Curry was an MTV VJ, right? In like the 80s, he really popularized everything, and I think coined the term. He did not
He
coin the
did
term.
not know. Actually,
Did Dave
a British,
Weiner?
nope,
Oh, okay.
a British author and journalist, Ben Hammersley.
Ben Hammersley.
Used
Does
it
he
in
own
an-
the trademark?
He just used the word in an article in 2004 when talking about all of these. I think one of them was maybe an audio blog was another option instead of podcast. And then Libsyn came out as the first podcast support platform, and then Apple did not release anything until a year
2008.
later.
Oh, really?
2005.
2005. Oh, okay. No, I remember I got into podcasts in 2004 because I was into tech back then, and I was working on the magazine. Like we would do customer support in the morning, right? Then we would work on like actual walkthroughs, like we would walk people through their account. Then I would work on like people's photos and ads or something in the evenings. And then in the early mornings from like midnight to 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or whatever, I'd work on the editorial. So I'm in the office all by
That's so
myself.
awesome.
And I found podcasts, and dude, they got me through.
Yeah.
They got me through those days. Because back then, ESPN wasn't doing a podcast, Joe Rogan wasn't doing a podcast. It was like a guy and his girlfriend in their bedroom recording their day.
Okay, that podcast started out to sound really weird, but that's to get it.
They were
yeah.
like,
Content,
Adam Curry
man.
did the Daily
A guy
Source.
and a girl in their bedroom recording their day.
They didn't have video podcasts back then. No, it's like Dawn and Drew was like one of the first podcasts.
Dawn and Drew, I don't
there
know,
were these
man.
there were these people that lived on a farm in Wisconsin, so like they just talked about like
Farm life.
farm.
That's amazing.
All right,
Yeah, I
TMI.
mean-
Never mind. Things that I
That's what
regret
people
saying
tune
on.
in for, Josh.
Yeah, Josh,
It's okay.
have you ever said anything on film that you regret?
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, you thank him personally. He's right upstairs.
Oh, man.
Rolling more into podcasts. This is from Nick, who has been your favorite podcast guest so far on Stay Paid.
Wow.
I can't choose a favorite. There's been so
Wow.
many good ones. I loved Andy Dane Carter, loved Ricky Carruth. Obviously, I'm biased, but loved interviewing Steven. My
I don't
brother.
know. The one that we just recorded.
Dude,
it
that one was
will
freaking.
be
That guy's
coming
a
out, I
beast.
think after this.
Yeah, it will come out after that. That guy's a beast.
Ryan Finch, he was incredible, man. I don't know. That's too hard to pick. That's mean. Actually,
It
I said
really is.
before
As
Tiffany.
I keep thinking of Tiffany Beltran.
She was our first
is
one
awesome.
in studio.
Yeah, she was great. I mean,
She's a rock star. Veronica Figueroa is a
Yo,
rock
Veronica
star.
was like, I didn't talk like the whole time. I was in awe.
She was
like,
incredible.
Her story was incredible. There's been so many good ones. Yeah, it's hard to pick. Go
James
listen to all of
Festini
them.
and his
Fair
rolling
enough.
in his mobile,
In his mobile
basically his
van.
mobile office.
Yeah,
He was
I
awesome.
think it was incredible.
yeah, that's awesome. Tell us who you guys want us to
Yeah.
interview because we'll try to get them on. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Send him to podcast at ReminderMedia or DM us on Instagram.
Yep.
Stay Paid Podcast. Okay, so this next one is from Tracy. She says, I've heard you guys talk about going to conferences before. What conferences do you suggest for a real estate agent?
Ooh, that's a great one. So it depends what you're after, right? Is what I would say. So if you're after understanding what's happening in the industry and the latest, greatest technologies, I would encourage you to go to Inman. Because I think that's a good conference to understand, hey, what's happening in the industry? What are
Definitely going to be a lot more forward looking.
It's more news type oriented. And when I say by news, I mean like you're trying to figure out, hey, what's happening in the iBuyer market? What's happening? Like they're going to talk about
you've got
those
CEOs and presidents
controversial
of company up there saying,
thing.
here's where I see this industry
here's
going.
where we're going, right? So that's a good one. I think you can learn about new technologies there. I think that's really good. I think NAR is freaking awesome.
NAR was great. I mean, I don't know because I'm not in real estate, so I'm not sure. When we go to conferences, obviously we go for some of the sessions. So like we were just in Florida for the Realtor Nation, Florida Association of Realtors, and I went to some of the sessions, and they were great sessions. I would say whatever is in your area that you can. I would say that you're going to take action on.
Yeah, that you'll actually implement some of the ideas.
I wouldn't worry as much about what conference I'm going to as I would which am I going to actually do something
Look
with
at the
information
sessions.
that
What
I
are the
learned?
sessions they're offering?
Right.
And judge it by the sessions they're offering. But I think the conferences are powerful also for a recharge. And people underestimate how empowering it is when you get in a room full of like-minded
Yes.
people that are peers that are going through similar struggles
That's
to what
another
you're going through.
great point. Yeah, if you're a new agent, find a conference that
Yep.
a lot of the new agents are attending, because you're going to have trouble relating. You're going to obviously look up to
Yep.
the veteran agents and where they've taken their career, but there's also a lot to be said. Where
You
like,
should go to your company's conference. I don't understand
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you don't. Like, it's a great networking thing. It's a great time to relax in a way, like recharge, party. Like, you should go to. So if you're with Keller Williams, go to the Keller Williams.
what was when
family
Stevens,
reunion.
your brother, was talking about? Do you remember which
He
conference?
just went to?
Yeah,
It was
he
a local. I say local, but it was a small, like local region of Keller Williams getting together. It was like 200 agents, something like that,
Gotcha.
and they were doing a class. I forget what the class was on. But
Right.
they were doing a class.
Like a
but he
workshop.
walked away. It really wasn't about the workshop data that he
Right.
loved. It was about being in the room with producers at similar levels of life that he is at, struggling. with
Realizing I'm
similar
not
things.
alone.
Yeah, I'm not alone. It's
He said
powerful.
there's $1 million, these huge top producing agents
Yeah.
sitting around saying like,
With
I
the same
suck.
pain point. Yeah, I suck. Yeah, that's powerful. Triple Play was also a great one if you're on the East Coast.
Yep.
I felt like Triple Play was a great one. So go check out Triple Play. But go with what Josh said. If you're not willing to take action on something, if you're not willing to put notes on paper and then go home and do it, don't go at all. It's a waste of money.
All right, I only have a couple more for you guys. So this one is from Leslie, and we can honestly all relate to this. So she wants to be successful, but she also wants personal time as well. So what are your tips for a good work-life balance?
Woo-hoo. Set boundaries, baby, especially with your clients. The biggest mistake I see is real estate agents don't set boundaries with their clients. And what do I mean by boundaries? When are you available to have conversations and to respond to their needs? And if you don't put on a good, or if you don't set a good expectation in the beginning, then you're going to lose that client potentially because they're insane. Them calling you at 5 a.m. is insane. Them calling you at 10 o'clock at night is insane. Doesn't mean that you can't help them at 10 o'clock at night, especially if it's an emergency, but that should be, something that's way outside of what normally happens. Most real estate agents feel like, oh my gosh, I'm desperate. I finally got a deal. I have to be all in and I have to treat this person 24 hours, 24/7. That actually is the wrong mentality, because I think it gives the mentality to that potential client that I think it's more professional and people respect you more when you set boundaries and set expectations, and they trust you more. I think they trust you more because you're confident and you have this is what I do and I do it very well and I'm going to do it for you. And if you need me, here's what it is. And you don't have to be rude about it, but it sets the expectations and they want to follow along. So I'd set boundaries.
Yeah. I don't know how to answer this question, because it's like, to me, there's never been a difference between work is life. This is my livelihood, and life is work. So it's more about like the energy that I'm
You're
putting
like Jeff
in.
Bezos. It's like the circle.
Yeah, it's like the energy that I'm putting into either one of those at any given time, as long as I'm present in that particular moment. Obviously, you want to be available and schedule time. You can't be working 16 hours a day every day. But when you're doing your life outside of work, be present there. If you're at work, focus there. I mean, that's
the
really
idea of
kind
being
the only
present
way I know how to look
is
at it.
really, really good. I would agree with you. I'd encourage people to include your two worlds together.
Right.
Your family should know about your work.
Yes.
Your work should know about your family.
When
I know it sounds
we
crazy,
had
but it's the truth.
No, it's my daughter's 10 years old, and when we first started getting like really big into Facebook ads and whatever, and we were tracking leads every day, she would literally ask me, like, I would just involve her in it. I'd show her Facebook, I'd show her what I was doing. She would ask me on a Saturday, Daddy, how many Facebook leads?
How
did we
many
get
leads
today?"
did we get today?
And we'd look at it. We'd have
that's
a
awesome.
blast. We did
That's awesome.
the Black Friday, when we did our Black Friday deal last year. It was like all weekend long. Obviously I'm frying a turkey, we're making Thanksgiving dinner, we're hanging out with family. My family's asking
But they
me,
get excited.
My mom
how many
was so
signups so
excited
far?
for Black Friday last year. Just me and my mom,
yeah.
and we were checking emails.
That would
all
be
day.
the worst thing, would be to not include
You got to include
your
them.
family in
That's
that.
what they
Absolutely.
want. That's
Yeah.
what people in your family life, they want.
They want to share in the success.
Yep,
They want to
know what's
share in it.
going on.
Yep. The pains and the successes. Yep. I agree.
All right, and to wrap this up, last one, but certainly not least, looking ahead, what are your goals for Stay Paid?
To be the
World
number one
domination.
podcast on iTunes.
World domination.
Galactic takeover.
Yeah.
I think
my goal, obviously, other than like becoming like popular and big is to just get people information that can help them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I know it sounds lame,
I want
but
to
it's-
be able to interview better to
True.
get more tangible action items from the people who've had success. It's really hard. It's like opening a book. It's like opening a mind. It's you ask people questions. I want to get better at question asking. I've actually been reading about this, like how you can phrase questions and ask questions that help people, I guess, answer, for lack of a better word, like help them pull out of them
Facilitating
the
that answer,
truth,
yeah.
right? And people, like, when I saw, what inspired me is when we went to the LPL conference, Katie Couric, she spoke, and it was just wild. She was being interviewed, but it was wild to see how good she was. It's like, as the person being interviewed, she was still interviewing. Like,
Right,
it was
right.
like her control, her ability to respond. It was just, it shows you that interviewing is a skill set. It's an art and a science that you can learn. I'd like to get a lot better at that.
Love it.
Negotiation tactics, basically, like the FBI negotiator. Like, there's a book on that. That guy's speaking now. Yeah, I want to
Maybe
do
don't
that.
tell the guests that before they come on.
So I was reading a FBI interrogation
Yeah,
book.
interrogation.
Welcome to Stay
yeah.
Paid. That's all I got, you guys.
Awesome.
That was cool.
That was
99
really fun.
episodes deep. I didn't think we'd ever make it.
And don't wait for the next Q&A episode to ask us questions.
Sorry, I was
Yeah,
already
we
seeing
are
on
gathering
99th
questions now.
episode.
So if
I
there's
was
a
shocked.
burning
Yes.
question that you have for Luke, me, Stay Paid in general, ReminderMedia, let us know.
We'll answer before, during,
The questions
after.
about the detail of, like, the software that people use. If we didn't get to it on the podcast and you're really curious, we'll try to give you our best answers on it.
Yeah, absolutely. DM us, message us, email, whatever. We're always on. There's a whole team behind this.
Thank you so much, Andrea.
Josh doesn't know how to
Problem.
close this episode.
Do you want me to close it out?
He's just like, man, what do I do? Hey, I know this. Check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, in the new studio. Give us a 5-star review. Share it with your mom.
As we spoke about, all of those platforms are simply RSS feeds that hold an audio file
Full circle.
that gets delivered to your device or your computer when an episode gets released. Look,
if
if
you're
you're not
watching this-
subscribed, head on over to iTunes, search Stay Paid in the podcast directory, click the purple subscribe button. We actually have a video on our website.
Man, you took the words right out of my mouth.
We have a video on remindermedia.com/blog that actually shows you how to subscribe to a podcast if you are unsure. Thank you so much for listening today. If you liked what you heard here on Stay Paid, go on over to iTunes. iTunes is really the best. So even if you listen on like Spotify, just go over to iTunes because Spotify doesn't have a rating system. Rate us 5-star, leave a comment. It's going to push us up the chart. It's going to make the next Q&A episode even that much more full of content. You can also find our podcast in video form at staypaidpodcast.com. Check it out. Check out the last episode in this studio. Make sure to tell someone else about the podcast today. If you'd like to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com or find us on Instagram at staypaidpodcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree. And I love how we got more intense there at the end. Love it. Here's what I'm going to close with the action item. I think, action items, pretty simple. It's the 99th episode. It's the 99th episode. Josh is intense. I can't talk anymore. We don't know what's happened to us. I think, what I want you guys to do is I want you to take action on one of the tips that you've heard as you've subscribed and you've listened to Stay Paid. If this is your first episode, you can grab something from what we just said, but I want you to take action on it. I want you to literally apply one of the things you've heard. So if it's how do I get absentee owners? Well, go to Pioneer Data Solutions and buy an absentee owner list. It's that simple. Literally, like, as
It's
we
how to track
do this,
ROI on door knocking?
yes, go to
Art
KPI.
tracking.
Yeah, get our KPI tracker.
Yep.
Like, meaning download it off the site, start taking action on it. It's that simple. I don't know. It's wild to me how simple success is, but how difficult it is. It's not rocket science, but it's harder than rocket science because it takes discipline, it takes action. Remember, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer is top producers take action. So take action on that today.